It's 2. I feel that the Earl of Mo Shilling is going to suffer this time. Who knows, he actually came in such a wave. Sure enough, it is the Earl of Moshiland. In the face of such adversity, he dares to attack forcefully. This courage, this means, this strength, it's simply. Otherwise, how do you think they went from the bronze level to the legendary level? There was a lot of discussion on the forum. The protagonists and villains in other areas are discussing this matter. In itself, this war has attracted considerable attention. After all, it's about the number 1 supervillain. Originally, most of the protagonists and villains felt that this wave of sumo would definitely end. Who made the power contrast between the two sides in this war so obvious? One side is the 7 goddesses of the moon. On the other side, there are more than 10 kingdoms and 1 empire. Such a power comparison makes people feel pessimistic about the 7 goddesses of the moon. Other protagonists and villains naturally have no way to know the specific situation of the heaven. I don't know, the goddess of the dark moon has already challenged the 3rd month moon master, and the strength is seriously inconsistent with the size of the country. In this case, not many protagonists and villains are optimistic about the Earl of Moshi Land. Who can imagine? The protagonist and the villains are still discussing who can get the head of the Earl of Moshi Land and become the biggest winner. The Earl of Moshi Land came to such a wave, it really surprised a lot of people. It also made many people realize that, in this battle, I am afraid, there will be a lot of variables. Hey, he should have used the gold finger in his hand to do something that other saints couldn't do. He was struggling to the death. Once the army of more than a dozen kingdoms was overwhelmed, he would be finished. That's right, the war hasn't started yet, what he's doing now is just a little trick. There are also protagonists or villains who are surprised but still dislike sumo. The number of such protagonists and villains is not much. In this matter, the protagonist and the villain caused a heated discussion. Sumo is chasing down some protagonists with some angels. With a few thousand more villain points, he will be able to upgrade to a 2nd legendary Goldfinger. Through the captured protagonist in the capital, Sumo knows the location of some protagonists. It is not difficult to find those protagonists through the 50-kilometer early warning range of the bronze-level villains. Even if the protagonists have the heart to run away, they won't run too far in a short period of time. Soon, Sumo is just outside a city and catches a protagonist who is running away on a horse with all his strength. This protagonist is also a bronze-level protagonist. But it doesn't matter, Sumo has a silver-level villain on hand to feed. Not long after, other angels also sent some news. There are also gains. These angels are all angels under the goddess of the new moon, and they cooperate well with Sumo. In this way, when Sumo returns to the Dark Moon Kingdom, he has several bronze-level protagonists on his hands. After controlling these bronze-level protagonists and killing several silver-level villains, they successfully rose to silver level. After solving these fattening protagonists, after a critical strike, nearly 10,000 villains were once again in hand. Sumo's total villain value officially broke through the 50,000 mark. It's time for a 2nd gold finger, Sumo whispers. The 2nd gold finger, Sumo is ready to upgrade the Krypton gold system. Other gold fingers are still enough for now. After upgrading the Krypton gold system to the legendary level, it should be more useful. The gold-level Krypton gold system can mass-produce demigods. After upgrading to the legendary level, the Krypton gold system should be able to mass-produce false gods. When the god of the heavens or the demon god of the abyss descends on the world of gods, the power will be suppressed to the level of false gods. If it is a serious false god, once they break through from a demigod to a false god, they cannot stay in the world of gods for too long. After breaking through, staying at most for 1 day, you must go to the heaven. After the false gods established themselves in the heaven, and successfully found their own believers, and condensed the godhead, they were able to remove the word, pseudo, and become an official new god. The strength gap between the false god and the new god itself is not particularly large. So, Sumo spent the 50,000 villain value directly. After spending it, the Krypton gold system was successfully upgraded to the legendary level. Sumo also has 2 legendary gold fingers. One is the crit talent of the BBCH level. One is the legendary Krypton gold system. After the Krypton gold system reaches the legendary level, the items in it will be refreshed directly. Sumo saw that there were more items refreshed this time. There are also a lot of higher level things. For example, The pseudo-god pharmacy of junior high school and senior can be used to assist in breaking through the pseudo-god. Even the most elementary pseudo-magic power can be exchanged, but the quantity is very small and the price is very high. Not bad. He took a look and found that to exchange all the items in the legendary Krypton gold system, he needed more gold coins. The total amount of gold coins required exceeds 10 million. Converted to the money of another world, that is to say, more than 100 billion, can create a false god. It sounds like a lot of money is needed, however, it is extremely cost-effective. The power of a pseudo-god is more than 10 million gold coins? Not to mention, Sumo now has the Shenhao system. So, Sumo decisively used his own gold coins, plus some gold coins from the Shenhao system, to wipe out the legendary Krypton gold system again. Everything inside was emptied. The Krypton gold system probably won't think of it. It has risen to the legendary level. Actually, it still can't escape the fate of being wiped out in an instant. This time I swept the goods, and I swept out more things. After Sumo put these things away, he soon made new discoveries. After the Krypton gold system was upgraded to the legendary level, it became more humanized, and the time for the next item refresh actually appeared on it. 30 days. The next item refresh will take 1 month. Sumo saw that, behind the instructions, there was a small question mark. So, he clicked the little question mark. Soon, he saw a line of prompts. Consuming 500 villain points can shorten the refresh time by half, and consuming 1000 villain points for the second time can reduce the time by half again, and the villain value consumed each time after is twice the previous one. According to the meaning of this line of prompts, after the Krypton gold system is upgraded to the legendary level, you can also get the villain value to shorten the time for item refresh. The 500 villain value is reduced by half, the 1000 villain value is reduced by half, and the 2000 villain value can be further reduced by half. Although it consumes a lot of villain value, this function is also good. Sumo glanced at the villain value and directly consumed 500 villain value, shortening it twice. From 30 days to 15 days, shortening it any longer is not very cost-effective at the moment. Let's do this first. Refreshing once every 15 days is equivalent to saying that using this system, 2 pseudo-god level items can be generated in 1 month. The premise is that there must be enough gold coins to exchange. It can also circumvent the limitations of this system. 10 million gold coins is a lot. Sumo has accumulated several years in the New Moon Kingdom, and the total gold coins he has are only 20 to 30 million. It would be difficult for the Queen of the New Moon to take out 10 million gold coins at once. The gold coins in the treasury cannot be used casually. Fine. Sumo has a Shenhao system. After solving a few more protagonists, you can upgrade the Shenhao system to the gold level. It is a perfect match with the Krypton gold system. The kingdom of Kosi is dying, otherwise, let's escape first, shall we? When Sumo upgraded the Kryptonite system to the legendary level, in a kingdom to the south of the Kosi kingdom, some protagonists were negotiating. This kingdom is also bordered by the Dark Moon Kingdom, to the north of the Dark Moon Queen, and is called the Morn Kingdom. The Morn Kingdom is also gathering troops, preparing to participate in the attack of the Dark Moon Kingdom. Some of the protagonists and villains in it also gave birth to some thoughts. However, this wave of operations by Sumo not only stunned the protagonists and villains in other areas, but also terrified the protagonists and villains in some surrounding kingdoms. The protagonists and villains in the Kingdom of Morn were equally terrified. The protagonists in the capital are all ready to run away. But suddenly they didn't dare to run, and the villain was still staring. Look, there is a change in the headquarters of the Holy See. At this time, a protagonist said. The other protagonists in the capital looked at each other and saw that a passage was opened above the headquarters of the Holy See. Immediately afterwards, several angels descended one after another. Not only the Kingdom of Morn. Around the Dark Moon Kingdom, the same is true for other kingdoms. After these kingdoms were taken down by the speed of light in the Kosi Kingdom, almost at the same time, the passage to the heavens opened, and a large number of angels descended. After these angels came, they did not attack, but stayed beside the temple one by one. At the same time, the divine patterns on those temples also lit up. This way, the temple will have a better defense in the first place. Ha! Don't worry about it now. The gods of the heavens have descended on so many angels, and the Earl of Moshiland can't make a sneak attack at all. We are still a little too nervous, The gods of this world can't be idiots. With the lessons learned from the kingdom of Corsi, there are no measures to deal with them. The Earl of Moshiland is so strong. This wave must die, otherwise we will not have a good life in the future. In the kingdom of Morn, seeing that the god of the kingdom of Morn descended directly on the angel, the protagonists in it all felt relieved. The other kingdoms of the Dark Moon Kingdom Joe Kingdom also let go of their hearts one by one. The operation of the gods behind this wave of various kingdoms was also shared on the forum under the discussion between the protagonists and villains in these kingdoms. This time, the Earl of Moshi Land should not be able to make a surprise attack. Well, as far as I know, as long as the core temple is guarded, it will be much easier for the gods to come. A few angels cooperate with the main temple, it is not so easy to be defeated. Many protagonists and villains discussed again. In these discussions between the protagonist and the villain, Su Mo returned to the Dark Moon Kingdom. Not long after returning to the Dark Moon Kingdom, Su Mo received an oracle from the goddess of the new moon, and she wanted to meet Su Mo. Prepare to discuss with Su Mo and reveal some more about this war so that Su Mo can have some preparations. The meeting place is naturally in the temple of the Dark Moon Goddess. Then, Su Mo entered the temple of the Dark Moon Goddess. Soon after entering, Su Mo saw a dark moon descending. Goddess? Su Mo discovered that the man on the dark moon was the projection of the goddess of the new moon. Well, Mo, it's me. I borrowed the temple of Dark Moon. The new moon goddess looked at Su Mo with joy and said, "This time your actions exceeded all of us expectations, but the gods of the surrounding kingdoms have some responses now, and they may set some traps, you have to be careful." The new moon goddess said again. Su Mo said, "Oh, thank you goddess for caring." "You're welcome, by the way, they want to see you too. If you have any specific thoughts on this war, you can also communicate with them, okay?" The expression of the new moon goddess as quite a little helpless, said. They. Su Mo's heart moved. Yes. So, very soon, the projection of the second god came. This is the goddess Sheui. As soon as it came, the goddess Sheui couldn't wait to jump off the dark moon and came to Su Mo's side. A pair of beautiful big eyes stared at Su Mo. "Goddess, is there something dirty on my face?" Su Mo said. Goddess Sheui smiled. "Of course not, I just haven't seen you for a long time, Mo, this time you scared all those guys." While she was speaking, another goddess descended. This is the tall silver moon goddess, and the silver moon goddess is a bit like an iceberg beauty. "Mo, this is the goddess of the silver moon." The goddess of the new moon introduced. The silver moon goddess came over and looked at Su Mo with curiosity. Then, she saw that Su Mo reached out to her. "Goddess, it's a pleasure to meet." The silver moon goddess was startled. His eyes subconsciously looked at the goddess of the new moon. How can you shake hands with the goddess? Although there is a handshake ceremony in this world, they have never shaken hands with the opposite sex. After becoming a goddess, she has long abandoned the etiquette of these human worlds. But now Su Mo's identity is human after all. If it were another holy son, she would naturally ignore it, and the other party would not dare. But Su Mo is like this. Next to her, goddess Sheui almost laughed, she was so embarrassed at the beginning. Now my heart is finally balanced. Seeing that the goddess of the new moon seemed to be used to it, the goddess Sheui looked like she was watching a good show again. Finally, the silver moon goddess stretched out her little hand stiffly and shook hands with Su Mo. At this time, from the rear, another goddess descended. This is the goddess of the holy moon, who has met Su Mo. After the projection came, she stepped forward and chatted with Su Mo in a gentle voice. Then, another goddess descended. This is a petite goddess, the goddess of the morning moon. The goddess of the morning moon looks very lively, giving people a girly feeling. After descending on the projection, she came to Su Mo. As soon as she saw Su Mo, the curiosity on the face of the goddess of the morning moon couldn't be hidden. If it weren't for the presence of many goddesses, she would have to keep her goddess demeanor, and she would probably have kept asking around Su Mo. "Ha! I've never shaken hands with anyone, Mo, you're the first." The character of goddess morning moon is more lively than goddess Sheui. Seeing Su Mo stretch out her hand, she did not appear too embarrassed, but took the initiative to reach out and hold Su Mo's hand. After the goddess of the morning moon came, it was the goddess of the moon. The goddess of Yingyue has a proud figure, and it can be said that she is the most popular among the goddesses. It's very close to her god's name. The goddess of the moon came, and after chatting with Sumo for a few words, there was another movement in the back. Hey, is the dark moon also coming to the projection? Isn't she not going to come? Goddess Sheui said. In the rear, on the dark moon, a large number of light spots are already gathering. Soon, it all came together. A figure shrouded in holy light, unable to see the figure, descended. This is the dark moon goddess. After Sumo returned to the dark moon kingdom, the goddess of the new moon wanted to see Sumo, mainly because she wanted to know what Sumo would play next, so they could cooperate with Sumo. Then, she is also ready to tell Sumo more details of the war, so that Sumo can have more basis for making decisions. This is also a lot of trust in Sumo. You must know that bishops and saints in other kingdoms are not qualified to know these things. God asked them to attack the Dark Moon Kingdom, and they just did what they did. Why are there so many? After hearing that the goddess of the new moon wanted to see Sumo, Sheui was the first to want to follow her. Then, other goddesses also became interested, such as Chenyue and the others. Then, it has become like this now. The 6 goddesses have descended into the projection. Originally, Dark Moon's whole mind was on the Battle of Gods more than 10 days later, and she was not ready to project it. But after the 6 goddesses were projected, the Dark Moon goddess probably wanted to drop by to have a look. Anyway, projection will not consume much power. After the Dark Moon goddess came, her face was still shrouded in holy light, and she couldn't see her appearance at all. She sat on the Dark Moon and looked at Sumo. This is the Holy Sun who has been in the limelight recently and is regarded as a treasure by the goddess of the new moon. Then, she saw what Sumo looked like. Her originally cold and indifferent face suddenly became stagnant. Because that face of Sumo, her memory is so deep. How is this possible? She lost her composure in an instant. Dark Moon, why are you in a daze? Aren't you coming down? In the kingdom of God, the voice of the goddess Sheui sounded. Although they came to the projection, in the kingdom of God, they can naturally communicate. The reason why the goddess Sheui asked is because in the temple, after the projection of the goddess of the dark moon descended, there was no movement. That round of dark moon did not descend. The dark moon goddess seemed to be in a daze. Sheui, I'll just take a look. The dark moon goddess tried her best to keep her voice calm and said. It didn't make goddess Sheui hear any abnormality. Okay, dark moon. Goddess Sheui didn't think much about it. In the temple, other goddesses also know the meaning of dark moon. They also didn't think much about it. Let me tell you the details of Dark Moon's challenge this time, and how long we may have to persist. The goddess of the new moon told these things. This is also the main purpose of her coming this time. Last time, the goddess of the new moon only told Sumo that the goddess of the dark moon was going to challenge the lord of the third moon. But this battle of gods will take more than time, and what variables may appear, she did not say in detail. Now, she's ready to tell Sumo this. Okay, goddess. Sumo said. Sumo didn't look at the dark moon goddess too much. The body of the dark moon goddess was shrouded in a faint holy light, and she couldn't see her appearance at all. It should be her. Sumo thought. Seeing that the dark moon goddess did not show any reaction after seeing him. Sumo listened intently to the goddess of the new moon. So, Sumo listened silently, while the goddess of the new moon kept talking. The goddess of the sun moon and the goddess of the morning moon would add a sentence or two from time to time. In a short time, the goddess of the new moon explained all the circumstances of this time. The surrounding kingdoms have become vigilant in the past 10 days. Once the battle of gods is officially launched, they will definitely swarm them. Do you have any plans to share with us first? We will prepare in advance and better cooperate with you. After the goddess of the new moon finished speaking, she said. Hearing the words of the new moon goddess, Sumo also talked about his plan. His plan is simple. There are 10 days before the War of Gods begins, and in these 10 days, Sumo is ready to win a few more kingdoms. Sumo has seen it. Once the capital is captured, and if the divine light of those kingdoms is broken, the gods of those kingdoms will not dare to come. Even if they found help, the reason is also very simple. They are afraid of the dark moon goddess. They didn't know the power of the dark moon goddess before. But now, the dark moon goddess dares to challenge the third moon lord, and the gods in the surrounding kingdoms are probably trembling. This is why they are so active and want to attack the dark moon kingdom. If they don't take this opportunity to destroy the dark moon kingdom, if the dark moon goddess succeeds in the challenge, then the situation of their kingdom will be worrying. Therefore, before the battle of gods officially started, even if these gods lost their kingdoms, I am afraid they would not be willing to confront the Dark Moon Goddess. They will only wait for the war of gods to start, and then join the other kingdoms. Under such circumstances, it became easier to win other kingdoms. After the plan was finished, the eyes of the new moon goddess had completely lit up. Mo, your plan is really different from what I thought. I'm still thinking about how to deal with them if they attack from 3 directions. The voice of the goddess of the morning moon sounded. The eyes of the other goddesses also lit up. Unconsciously, in this temple, the interests of several goddesses were raised. All the attention is also on Sumo. Even in the kingdom of God, they seldom talked. Above the dark moon, the eyes of the goddess of the dark moon are on Sumo from time to time. From time to time, on the bodies of several other goddesses. She could see that although these goddesses were all gods. However, in this temple, Sumo's presence is stronger than all the goddesses. Sumo's aura alone surpasses that of any goddess. He stood there, unconsciously becoming the core of this temple. No other saint can do this. Will it be him? The dark moon goddess thought silently. The appearance is exactly the same, and it does not mean that they are the same person. In the world, it is still possible to find 2 very similar people. After the initial restlessness, the dark moon goddess quickly discovered the difference. 10 years ago, she met a demon in the abyss. Now, the Sumo in front of him is an uncompromising human being, with an extremely pure soul. Demons turn into humans? This is almost impossible. It can be disguised, but how could a demon deceive the eyes of God? Not to mention, he became the son of the new moon goddess. To become a son requires communication with God. When communicating, the soul of the son can be said to be defenseless against God. Don't talk about demons, even if it is a demon god, don't try to deceive the gods in the heavens. Therefore, the dark moon goddess is not so sure. And now she, for some reason, is afraid to ask for evidence. Once verified, there is a possibility, in case the new moon saint in front of him is really the one from 10 years ago. What should she do? No one could see her expression. From the light in her eyes, she didn't know what she was thinking now. Mo, what do you want to do? We will fully cooperate with you. This is the Divine Soundstone. In the future, you can contact me directly through the Divine Soundstone. The voice of the goddess of the morning moon rang again. She stuffed Sumo with a white stone. Seeing this, the goddess Sheui also handed a white stone to Sumo. The other goddesses also handed the Divine Soundstone to Sumo. Through the Divine Soundstone, you can contact them directly. This was originally their means of contact in the heavens, but now it was given to Sumo. Mo, let's go. After giving the Divine Soundstone to Sumo, several goddesses left one after another. The projection of the Dark Moon Goddess has also quietly dissipated. Sumo glanced at the place where the Dark Moon Goddess projection dissipated and was about to leave. The projection of the New Moon Goddess came down again. Mo, wait a minute, cried the goddess of the new moon. What's the matter, goddess? Sumo turned around and asked. The goddess of the new moon gave him a mass of divine power. At the same time, there is a fruit in her hand. This is the divine power that Dark Moon asked me to hand over to you. It is comparable to the divine power of the innate gods, but the authority has been opened. This is the Dark Moon fruit. Before you use it, you must eat the Dark Moon fruit, otherwise you will not be able to bear it. From this divine impact. The new moon goddess said, the power of the Dark Moon Goddess? Sumo took over that group of divine power, which was really advanced. It is not an attributeless divine power that is condensed purely by faith. It is the divine power of the Dark Moon Goddess herself. Such divine power, if the authority is not opened, others will not be able to use it at all. Opening the authority is also a risky thing. If it is obtained by a hostile god, to study these divine powers, the Dark Moon Goddess will be passive. The divine power of the Dark Moon Goddess itself is very advanced, and human beings cannot use it at all. Not to mention humans, not even a demigod can use it. However, she also provided a Dark Moon fruit, and with the help of the Dark Moon fruit, you can use these divine powers in a short time. Sumo all took over. Goddess, thank the Dark Moon Goddess on my behalf. Sumo said. Okay, Mo. The projection of the new moon goddess dissipated. Sumo left the Dark Moon Temple. Then, early the next morning, the army of the Dark Moon Kingdom passed through the space gate and quickly came to the border of the Morn Kingdom in the north. Then, an attack was launched towards a fortress on the border of the Morn Kingdom. Boom! A large number of angels appeared and attacked, directly blasting the fortress into scum. Before Moan Kingdom could react, the fortress was taken down. Immediately afterwards, the army of the Dark Moon Kingdom drove straight in and attacked the hinterland of the Morn Kingdom. IFCK, the Dark Moon Kingdom is calling, and the largest fortress on our border is gone. I'm going. What shall we do? This Dark Moon Kingdom starts from the frontier, it shouldn't be so fast. In the Kingdom of Morn, the protagonists and villains who had just breathed a sigh of relief panicked again. What? The Dark Moon Kingdom took the initiative to attack. Needless to say, this must be the work of the Earl of the Blackstone Land. The protagonist and villain of the Morn Kingdom are probably panicking? This time, it may not be possible to fight. The capital of the Morn Kingdom has strengthened its vigilance. The Dark Moon Kingdom is attacking from the border, and other kingdoms will not stand by. The news of this war was quickly spread on the forum, which also attracted a lot of attention. Damn it, the Dark Moon Kingdom is attacking now. In the celestial realm, a god was sitting on the throne with a gloomy expression on his face. This god is the god of Morn Kingdom. Right now, he is extremely embarrassed. He never thought that the Dark Moon Kingdom would actually take the initiative to attack. With the momentum of thunder, they invaded the Kingdom of Morn. In just half a day, the Dark Moon Kingdom has occupied an entire county. 3 more county temples have been destroyed. This speed is not ordinary fast. Although the Kingdom of Morn is also gathering troops, these troops have not yet been sent to the front. Now, the pressure is all on his side. Fight, it is likely to face the 7 goddesses of the moon alone. More likely to face the Dark Moon Goddess. Don't fight, is it possible that the Dark Moon Kingdom will be attacked and plundered like this? At this time, at the entrance of the Kingdom of God, an angel flew in. Hal, what did the Moon Lord say in the 3rd month? The god of the Kingdom of Morn asked. God, I haven't seen the 3rd Moon Lord, but from the attitude of the Archangel under his command, I am afraid that the 3rd Moon Lord will not have any intention of taking action now. The angels report. Damn it. The god of the Kingdom of Morn, with an ugly face. This time, they volunteered to be the guns of the 3rd Moon Lord and dealt with the Dark Moon Kingdom, which was naturally profitable. I thought it would be smooth sailing this time. You can even conquer 7 kingdoms in one fell swoop. More than a dozen kingdoms divide these 7 kingdoms, and each kingdom can also eat enough. He was already thinking about the joy after the victory. Whoever thought of it, Sumo came first. Then the Dark Moon Kingdom played cards unconventionally and launched an attack quickly. This time, the Dark Moon Kingdom's methods were very thunderous, and the ground troops were divided into several groups of attacks. In the sky, there are also flying ships transferred from the kingdoms of the other 6 goddesses. In conjunction with the angels of the Dark Moon Kingdom, they attacked with lightning-like attacks. It's a blitzkrieg. If it was the Dark Moon Kingdom in the past, he would have let the Morn Kingdom make up its army and come down by himself, or come down to the angel to fight. But the problem is, the current Dark Moon Goddess has not started the Battle of Gods, and he does not dare to come rashly. Not even the angels dare to come rashly. In the face of the lightning attack of the Dark Moon Kingdom, you can only be passively beaten. Go ask Corsi and them. The god of the Morn Kingdom was not reconciled. Let this angel go and invite several other gods. So, soon, the rapidly advancing army of Dark Moon Kingdom was blocked in front of a huge city. The Morn Kingdom finally gathered some troops here, and in the sky, the gods descended one after another. However, these gods have just arrived, and on the side of the Dark Moon Kingdom, the gods are also coming one after another. The expressions of the gods of the Morn Kingdom changed, because as soon as the opponent came, 6 goddesses descended. He only got 4. Counting himself, there are only 5. Others are not very willing to come. As soon as the 6 goddesses came, they brazenly launched an attack. The god of the Morn Kingdom regretted it immediately, and he was extremely passive. Then, let alone something he regretted happened. Sumo, who didn't go out with the army, took advantage of the fact that they were fighting on the front line, and attacked his capital directly. Not only destroyed the temple, but also killed and captured several angels who were sitting in the capital. The core personnel of the Holy See were also wiped out by Sumo. The royal family of the Kingdom of Moan has also surrendered to Sumo. Even the king was arrested and expressed on the spot that he would convert the whole country. Damn it, son of the new moon, I must kill you. When the god of the Morn Kingdom returned to the heaven, he roared in exasperation. This guy is so angry. The front line has not been fought, the capital has been copied, and the core temple has been destroyed. The angels of the 7 goddesses of the moon are still destroying the temple everywhere. Divine light is already unstable. Damn it. The god of Morn Kingdom is about to cry. Isn't this obvious bullying? Beside him, looking at Moen, who was crying anxiously, the depression in the heart of the god of the Kosi kingdom, whose kingdom was taken away just the day before yesterday, has already been comforted. Sometimes when a person is in bad luck, no matter how much a friend comforts him, his mood may not improve. However, at this time, if any of his friends encountered more unfortunate things, his mood, on the contrary, will magically improve. People are like that. At some point, the heart of God, too. Moen, don't worry, they will have a better life for a few days, and when the battle of gods comes together, the 6 of them will have more than 10 gods in front of them, and they will be the ones crying. The god of the kingdom of Kosi consoled. Up to now, the god of the kingdom of Morn had no choice but to comfort himself in this way. The kingdom of Morn is also over. Why do I feel that the kingdom of Morn has been bullied so badly? Have you watched the live broadcast of the battlefield? The 7 goddesses of the moon have descended on 6. The guy in the live broadcast system made a lot of money this time around, but he's also very courageous, and he doesn't dare to be discovered by the villain and then kill him? That buddy is stubborn. Until now, he has not been so obvious, but there are many people watching the live broadcasts in succession. I am afraid that his strength is very strong. On the Protagonist forum, the discussion was extremely lively. Because, the protagonist of the live broadcast system, touched the live broadcast again, and earned a lot of live broadcast points. After the god of the Moen Kingdom was beaten and collapsed, Sumo issued several new policies in the Moen Kingdom, which did not stay and digested slowly. The Dark Moon Kingdom attacked again, joining forces with several other countries' high-end combat power. This time, Dark Moon Kingdom's handwriting is even bigger. Impressively attacked 2 kingdoms at the same time. These 2 kingdoms, one is located to the west of the Morn Kingdom, a kingdom to the northwest of the Dark Moon Kingdom, and its name is the Kingdom of Sima. After this kingdom was taken down, there would not be too many hidden dangers in the north of the Dark Moon Kingdom. There is also a kingdom of Atul, located to the south of the Kingdom of Dark Moon. Seeing that this wave of Dark Moon Kingdom is more powerful, the discussion between the protagonist and the villains in the forum is even higher. Everyone is amazed at the thunderous means of the Earl of Moshi land. The protagonists and villains of some kingdoms around the Dark Moon Kingdom were also terrified again. Some protagonists and villains are starting to flee. Of course, there are people who still don't see the moon and the 7 goddesses. The means of the Earl of the Blackstone territory are indeed fierce, but he can only gain some bargaining chips for the Dark Moon Kingdom before the official start of the war. That's right, once the army of the Stu Empire moves, other kingdoms will pounce on them like sharks smelling blood, and the 7 goddesses of the moon will be defeated. There are still a few days before this big drama will come to an end. Look at it, the Earl of Moshiland is sure to die. There are many people who are not optimistic. Especially those who were frightened by the Earl of the Blackstone land. I hope that the protagonist and villain of the death of the Earl of the Blackstone land will all sing badly there. These guys can't resist. After winning the Kingdom of Morn, the Kingdom of Sima and the Kingdom of Yatu faced the siege of the Dark Moon Kingdom. Couldn't resist. Instead, all the troops were shrunk in the capital, and they looked like they were protecting the capital. This is probably the lesson of the Kingdom of Morn. Afraid that the front line was fighting, Sumo suddenly appeared in the back and brought a pot of soup to their capital. After all, if the front line resists, it probably won't be able to resist either. It's better to wait for the War of Gods to start, and then start another wave of general attack to get back the lost country. Seeing that these 2 kingdoms have given up treatment, Sumo satisfied them. Directly adopted the method of high-end combat power horizontal push. It only took 2 days to destroy many temples in the Sima Kingdom, making the whole kingdom of Sima unstable. This kind of play is also extremely fast. It's a lightning strike. If others want to copy, it is equally difficult to copy. After all, there is no son of God who has the power to steal someone else's capital like Sumo. It is difficult for the son and daughter of the Lord of Power to do so. Of course, if a power lord sets his sights on a small kingdom, it will be very easy to win. In addition, the kingdom of the existing Lord of Power has already expanded to the limit of divine light, and the need for expansion is also very small. After the divine light of the Sima kingdom was unstable, a large number of flying ships were ushered in outside the capital of the Sima kingdom. And, the 6 goddesses who came. This time Sumo didn't have to do it himself, the capital of the kingdom of Shima was easily taken down like this. Damn it. In the heavens, there is another god who is about to explode on the spot. Immediately afterwards, the flying ship of the Dark Moon Kingdom once again rushed towards the Yatu Kingdom in the south with a thunderous attitude. The Yatu Kingdom also adopted a strategy of fully defending the capital. Originally, the kingdom also sent some angels down. Prepare to defend the temples of some outer cities. But after Sumo killed several angels one after another, the god of Yatu Kingdom decisively shrank the defense line. At the same time, the capital was blocked early, and no one was allowed to enter, so as to prevent Sumo from mixing in the crowd. This blockade actually helped Sumo, because the protagonist and villain in the capital were blocked. The protagonist and villain in the capital city are all complaining and feeling depressed. These protagonists and villains, after being depressed there for a few days, the army of the Dark Moon Kingdom came. The Yatu Kingdom was taken down just like that. So, before the battle between the Dark Moon Goddess and the Third Moon Lord officially started. In more than 10 days, Sumo won 4 kingdoms in one fell swoop. 10 days to days, 4 kingdoms, an average of 1 kingdom every 3 days. This speed also shocked the protagonists and villains on the forum. The protagonists and villains in these 4 kingdoms ran away a lot, but they were also caught by Sumo. Especially the silver protagonist and silver villain in the royal capital. The harvest is not bad, after taking the silver villain and feeding it to the bronze level protagonist. Finally, Sumo solved a total of 14 silver level protagonists. With a villain value of 7,000, Sumo's villain value has once again exceeded 40,000 after successive critical attacks. The average crit multiplier has reached more than 6 times. This multiple is already quite nice. Brother Ma, the Earl of Moshi Land has made a lot of big moves in the past few days, and he has won 4 kingdoms. What are you afraid of? It's just 4 small kingdoms. Once Brother Ma makes a move, the Earl of Moshi Land will not be able to capture it. Brother Ma, we all follow you, just give us some silver villains. In the Stu Empire, in a protagonist group, a large number of protagonists are licking the gold level protagonist Marin. The gold level protagonist, Marin, looked at the news in the group and was quite satisfied. Although he is a gold level protagonist, he is different from other gold level protagonists in the past 2 months. The most powerful gold level protagonist has already killed dozens of villains. He hasn't killed a single one yet. No way, the route of each protagonist is more or less different. Some people with heavy development must endure some time in the early stage. However, he is about to reach the peak of his life. Originally, he was going to prove the villains in the Stu Empire. Now, he has a better choice. The Earl of Moshi Land is his best stepping stone. He also paid some attention to the actions of the Earl of Moshi Land for more than 10 days, but he didn't care too much. In his view, it was just a dying struggle. As soon as the army of the Stu Empire arrived, it cooperated with the army of some other kingdoms, and there were many gods who came. The 7 goddesses of the moon will definitely lose. No one can save the Earl of Moshi Land. Holy Sun, the army is about to set off. Saint Lady Daisy asked me to inform you of the departure. At this time, a priest came to report, it is good. Marin Saint Child stood up and walked towards a huge flying ship outside. Although, now Daisy is officially a saint, but soon, the era of his Marin will come. When Saint Sun Marin boarded the flying boat, he saw that the capital was already densely packed and full of troops. In the sky, there are a huge number of magicians. And hundreds of flying ships, some flying ships, and even a large number of magic cannons. This is the essence of an empire, kill. In the sky, a powerful fighting god pulled out his long sword and pointed it in the direction of the Dark Moon Kingdom. This Do god is a powerful demigod who cultivates Do Chi. In the Stu Empire, there are more than 1 demigods like this. With the action of this fighting god, below, a dense army poured into the space gate. The Stu Empire has sent troops. The big play is about to begin, and the Earl of Moshi Land is doomed this time. On the forum between the protagonist and the villain, the news of the Stu Empire sending troops was overwhelming. Stu Empire moved. To the west of the Dark Moon Kingdom, those kingdoms also moved. The kingdom to the north of the Dark Moon Kingdom was removed in advance by Sumo. The kingdom in the south was also drawn by Sumo. The remaining kingdom in the southwest also followed the other kingdoms and fought together. A large number of troops began to gather in the west of the Dark Moon Kingdom. Holy Sun, the Stu Empire has sent troops. This news was soon learned by Bishop Morris and reported to Sumo. It's okay, Sumo said lightly, he already knew. On the villain forum, the news is overwhelming. More people are paying attention to this matter than ever before. Although there are some hot spots on the villain forum recently, such as the actions of other powerful protagonists or villains. But the biggest hotspot is still this huge war. In the Dark Moon Kingdom, the armies of the other 6 goddess kingdoms were already in place. The demigod-level combat power of the 6 kingdoms has also arrived. The Queen of the Crescent Moon has also been by Sumo's side these days. Mo, the goddess wants to see you. Not long after the news of the Stu Empire sending troops, the Queen of the Crescent Moon told Sumo. So, Sumo entered Sumo again. Once, it was still Sumo alone. After entering, the situation is different from before. Because after Sumo entered for a while, there was still no response in the empty temple. Sumo was very patient and did not use the divine soundstone to contact the goddess of the Crescent Moon. Time passed little by little. Finally, Sumo noticed something. Is she watching me in the dark? Sumo thought. He noticed it, the eyes that were very imperceptible in the dark. Instinctively, Sumo felt that the gaze did not belong to the Crescent Moon goddess. Rather, the goddess of the Dark Moon, I am afraid. This time, the one who wants to see Sumo is not the goddess of the new moon, but the goddess of the Dark Moon. Dark Moon goddess, want to see him alone? After realizing this, Sumo's patience, the better, time goes on. In the temple, there was finally movement. In the entire temple, a shimmer like water began to light up. This light is not as strong as the light in the shrine of the Crescent Goddess. But like the authentic moonlight, although it is a little bright, it is very cold and weak. This is the light of the Dark Moon. Sure enough, the one who really wanted to see him this time was not the goddess of the new moon, but the goddess of the Dark Moon. Several days have passed since the last time the 7 goddesses appeared in the temple at the same time. The Dark Moon goddess didn't do anything last time. This time, but fake Oracle met with Sumo before the war. Are you trying to confirm Sumo's identity? Sumo's expression is still calm. This time, finally, a moon appeared. Then, the goddess of the new moon descended. Mo, Dark Moon would like to see you alone, can you? The goddess of the new moon looked at Sumo with a question in her eyes. Now, her attitude towards Sumo is no longer the attitude of a god towards the son of God. This kind of thing requires only one command from other gods. However, the goddess of the new moon will come down to a projection and consult Sumo's opinion. Sumo said, "Oh, yes, goddess." The new moon goddess looked at Sumo and said sincerely, "Mo, the next battle is related to the success or failure of Dark Moon. It is normal for her to want to see you before the battle. Don't think too much, we all trust yours." Her understanding is obviously different, thinking that the Dark Moon goddess is still worried about Sumo's origin. I was afraid that Sumo would misunderstand, so I explained it specifically. It's all right, goddess. Sumo said. Only Sumo knows the true purpose of the Dark Moon goddess meeting this time. Seeing that Sumo didn't care, the goddess of the new moon showed a relieved smile, and her impression of Sumo was better. Because of Sumo's performance, he has always been very generous. Okay, I'm leaving, you can talk to Dark Moon, don't be nervous, she's very nice. The new moon goddess said. After speaking, her projection quickly turned into a light spot and dissipated. The new moon goddess just left. The temple was darkened again. Then, above the dark moon, a large number of light spots appeared again. Those spots of light quickly gathered together. A figure was formed in the twilight. This figure is very hazy this time. It looked like a cold figure in the moonlight. Slim, graceful. Although it looks quite romantic, it also makes people unable to help but have endless reverie. Yet there is a feeling of being out of reach. Obviously close, but far away. After the dark moon goddess came, she still didn't speak. Sumo couldn't even see her eyes. However, the dark moon is slowly descending. Soon, that round of dark moon descended to a place only a few meters above the ground. The dark moon goddess just sat on the dark moon and looked at him silently. In the temple, for a while, it became quite silent. "Goddess, what are your orders?" Sumo looked as usual and said. At this time, the light in the temple is not obvious. Between him and the dark moon goddess, separated by a distance of more than 10 meters, it is naturally impossible to see the hazy dark moon goddess. "Pray to me, I will pass on to you how to use the power of the dark moon, my god name, Anos." The dark moon goddess's cold voice sounded. This is the first time Sumo has heard her voice. The woman 10 years ago, although she had a night with him, she never spoke. Sure enough, does she want to make sure? Sumo prayed. Following Sumo's prayer, he soon felt the presence of the dark moon goddess. Here, it's just her projection. Her body is in the heaven. The dark moon goddess cast her gaze, and then, a large amount of information was passed down by her. In the process, Sumo felt the probe of the dark moon goddess. The process didn't last long, and after a few seconds, those messages were accepted by Sumo. This is equivalent to God's direct input of knowledge to the Holy Son and the Holy Maiden, so that the other party can use the power of God to attack. On the opposite side, the dark moon goddess was silent again. This time, she felt more and more familiar with Sumo. Especially Sumo's eyes. Although it is extremely clear, it is completely different from the succubus with red eyes 10 years ago. But the familiarity grew stronger, is more than just familiarity. And also, intuition is a woman. The goddess intuition is more accurate than the woman's intuition. In particular, the other party also left such a deep impression on her. But when the information was just passed on, she had already checked it out herself. Sumo's soul, there is no problem. This made her have some doubts. In the end, the dark moon goddess once again chose to temporarily put this issue aside. This time, in fact, several days passed, and she still couldn't hold back. Then, she spoke. "Mo, I can trust you, can't I?" The dark moon goddess said. Sumo looked at her, her eyes as clear as ever. "You can trust me, goddess." On the face of the dark moon goddess, the mist dissipated, revealing eyes that were as bright as stars. 4 eyes facing each other. The dark moon goddess spoke again. "I have already told you how to use the divine power. These divine powers can allow you to exert the divine power of the peak of the false god. But the time is only 5 minutes, don't exceed it, otherwise the dark moon fruit will not be able to protect you." "Okay, thank you goddess for reminding me." Sumo's tone was calm. "You." Tongue, after the dark moon goddess said a word, she stopped again. "Goddess, I also have a gift for you." At this time, Sumo spoke. Hearing Sumo's words, the dark moon goddess looked at Sumo. Then, she saw that a drop of divine power appeared on Sumo's fingertips. This drop of divine power is not the same as her dark moon divine power. This drop of divine power exudes a strong divine aura. The divine power of the gods in the heavens is divine. But after blending other energies from the heavens, the divine aspect of these divine powers will not be revealed deliberately. Like the dark moon goddess of the dark moon goddess, it is a bit like the night sinking like water. The divine power that Sumo brought out was a little too divine compared to her divine power. Not only that, in the feeling of the dark moon goddess, the divine aura of this drop of divine power is very mysterious. Condensing the existence behind this drop of divine power, its strength is probably no less than hers. "Goddess, this drop of divine power was obtained by accident, and it may be helpful to the goddess." Sumo's voice sounded. "Is this his gift?" The dark moon goddess stretched out her hand and summoned the drop of divine power into her hand. After being recruited, the dark moon goddess confirmed her thoughts as soon as she probed. This drop of divine power far surpassed her divine power in a mysterious degree. Part of the authority inside is released, and she can use this drop of divine power to attack. But if you want to explore more, it's hard to do. Once she conducts further exploration, this drop of divine power may directly self-destruct. Such restrictions could not help but arouse the curiosity of the dark moon goddess. Curious about the origin of this drop of divine power. And curiosity about Sumo's identity. Regarding Sumo's identity, the 7 goddesses of the moon have their own guesses. At present, like the goddess of the morning moon and the holy moon, they are all inclined to the speculation of the goddess Sheui. Think Sumo must be a reincarnation of an extremely powerful deity once. This powerful is not ordinary power. In the speculation of the goddess Sheui, to be like Sumo, in the past, I am afraid that it is the existence of the Lord of Power. It is possible that in ancient times, it was comparable to the existence of giants in the heavens. The dark moon goddess naturally knows these guesses. But these speculations made her feel inexplicably inconsistent. Because in her eyes, Sumo is exactly the same as the succubus 10 years ago, and the familiarity it brings to her is getting stronger and stronger. Now, Sumo has given her another drop of inexplicable power. In this drop of divine power, apart from the limitations that cannot be detected, there are no other hidden dangers. The dark moon goddess watched Sumo silently for a few seconds. In the end, she did not choose to ask Sumo where this drop of divine power came from. I accepted the gift, thank you. The dark moon goddess finally chose to accept that drop of divine power. Then, she took another deep look at Sumo, and the projection disappeared quietly. Seeing the dark moon goddess leave, Sumo also left the temple. Holy Sun, the vanguard of the Stu Empire's army has arrived outside the Luma fortress in the west. Bishop Morris reports the latest intelligence. To the west of the Dark Moon Kingdom, a large army has already gathered. The many kingdoms that attacked Dark Moon Kingdom did not separate, but chose to follow the army of Stu Kingdom. Now, these armies are gathering outside Luma Fortress, the largest fortress in the west of Dark Moon Kingdom. This fortress is very huge and the terrain is dangerous. The fortress can accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. Behind the fortress, there is still a certain depth. In case the fortress is broken through, you can also use the depth behind the fortress to continue sniping. If this world does not have too high-end combat power, this fortress will not be able to pile up people. In the other two directions, there is no separate army. After Sumo settles the kingdom to the north of Dark Moon Kingdom, and the kingdom to the south also settles one. The new moon goddess and the others were worried about the three-way army at first, but they did not appear. The enemies are all concentrated all the way. It's just right. Let's go. Sumo stood up. After passing through the space gate in the capital, they soon arrived at the Luma fortress. In the rear, the army is still gathering. The magic circle of Luma fortress has been fully opened. When Sumo arrived in the airship, looking westward from the sky, he could see the tent in the distance. The armies of other kingdoms are gathered. Keep coming. In the distant sky, a large number of flying ships can also be seen on alert. At the place where the Luma fortress was facing, about 100 kilometers away, the flying ships in the sky shot out the flags of the Stu Empire. The army of the Stu Empire was also arriving one after another. A lot of people. This battle of Dark Moon Kingdom is enough. Do you think that the Earl of Moshi Land will play cards unconventionally and attack now? There is a certain possibility, but the kingdoms that came to attack this time are all gathered together. Even if the Earl of Moshi Land attacks now, the harvest will not be too big. I don't know how many protagonists and villains are on this battlefield. According to the protagonist of the Stu Empire, a gold-level protagonist of the Stu Empire is already in the army. This time, the head of the Earl of Moshi Land is likely to be taken by the gold-level protagonist. On the Protagonist forum, at this time, there are already a lot of people paying attention to this matter. The protagonist of the live stream came to the battlefield again. This guy didn't know where to hide, and was live streaming from a distance. On the Protagonist forum, many protagonists have seen the scene of the gathering of troops from both sides. As for the villain forum, the protagonist did not dare to put the live broadcast room in the past. If a villain finds out his position through the live broadcast room, he will cry. Meanwhile, on the other side, on the huge flying ship belonging to the Holy See, the gold-level protagonist Marin was standing there, looking at each other. There are still hundreds of kilometers away from Luma Fortress, so naturally he can't see Sumo. From his line of sight, he could see the vast plain behind the Luma Fortress. The terrain of Dark Moon Kingdom is actually very good. There are many plains, and the borderline is mountainous, forming a natural barrier. Take this fortress, and the Dark Moon Kingdom will have no natural danger, and it will not take 3 days to occupy the entire kingdom. The golden protagonist, Marin, did not take Dark Moon Kingdom to heart at all. What he is thinking about now is how to occupy the Dark Moon Kingdom faster, and most importantly, kill the Earl of the Blackstone Land. His gold-level gold finger is very powerful, and his strength improves very quickly. Not only his own strength has entered the great magic guide level. After his body and soul have been strengthened, he has been able to carry the power of a god for more than 10 minutes. Far more than the official saint of the Stew Kingdom, the Saint of Daisy. Moreover, he can maintain a 1-minute ultra-limited power, allowing the power he carries to reach the peak of the pseudo-god. When different saints carry the power of God, not only is there time limit, but the power itself is also limited. Like the Queen of the New Moon, she can only carry demigod-level power. Saint Daisy of the Stew Empire can only carry the power of the initial stage of the false god for a few minutes. The power of the peak of the false god can only be achieved by the son and daughter of the master of ordinary power. The difference here is, of course, very large. Although it is only 1 minute, if this minute is used at a critical moment, in Marin's opinion, it can change the situation of the battle. Therefore, he is ready to enter the field at a critical time, kill the Earl of Moshi Land in one fell swoop, and then lead this battle with an invincible posture. Achieve his illustrious name. Time passed so slowly. The armies on both sides were gathering, and neither of them made any moves. Su Mo also did not launch an attack in advance, but on the flying boat, he exchanged a lot of things from the legendary Krypton gold system for the Queen of the New Moon to use. He had already sent someone to deliver something to Melina. As for Lorraine, it won't be too late when she comes back. The progress of the Queen of the Crescent Moon is rapid. In the past 10 days, the Queen of the Crescent Moon has been forcibly fed to the sanctuary by Su Mo. Among the many kings, she is probably the most powerful group. If it goes on like this, Queen Crescent Moon herself will become a demigod. Now the Queen of the Crescent Moon, a heart is completely placed on Su Mo. Between Su Mo and Su Mo, except for the last step, it has not yet been taken. Everything else is basically done. 2 days passed quickly. A large number of troops were withdrawn from the 3 captured kingdoms to the north and came to the battlefield. Among the 3 kingdoms, only a small number of magicians remained. Those 3 kingdoms digested quickly. After getting the royal family, divide the land. The foundation of believers has been largely disintegrated. If the Holy See personnel and the devout believers are arrested again, even if the gods of the heavens still make trouble, these 3 kingdoms will not be able to organize a large army to make trouble in the north. On the opposite side, the army of the Stew Empire was completely in place. There are also several other kingdoms' armies, mighty and mighty, with tents stretching for hundreds of kilometers. These troops have not moved, because we are waiting for the oracle of heaven. At this time, among the heavens, the surroundings of the 3rd month have also attracted a lot of attention. This 3rd month Moon Master battle has spread throughout most of the heavens. Some interested celestial gods have sent angels or come to watch the battle in person. Time passed little by little. Finally, the 3rd month ascended to the mid-heaven. A full moon formed. The moon is full. Over the Luma fortress, the Queen of the New Moon raised her head and saw the full moon hanging high in the sky. Full moon. Time is up. In the kingdom of God, the breath of the dark moon goddess exploded. Immediately afterwards, she rushed out of the kingdom of God. At the moment she rushed out, that full moon was all darkened. But right now, another terrifying aura slowly rose. In the 3rd month, the moonlight shines again. Dark moon, come on, let this deity see. What is your confidence in daring to challenge this deity? In the 3rd month, the lunar voice of the Lord of the Moon resounded throughout the entire moon. Boom, 2 terrifying attacks collided together, causing the 3rd month to burst into an extremely bright light. On the 3rd month, the battle of gods broke out. Mom, look at the moon in the sky. In the New Moon Kingdom, a little girl pointed to the sky. Her mother looked at it and saw that the moon in the sky became extraordinarily bright at this moment. It's like a supermoon. Wow, the moon is getting brighter, make a wish. In a grove, a young couple made a wish there. The brightening of the moon has attracted countless ordinary people to watch, but no one knows the real reason for the brightening of the moon. On the battlefield, the change of the moon is also very obvious. The entire battlefield is bright. The battle of gods has begun. On the flying boat, the Queen of the New Moon looked at the full moon in the sky and said, "The battle of the gods in heaven has begun." At this time, even though it was midnight, all the soldiers in the Luma fortress were already ready to fight. Outside the Luma fortress, the multinational coalition forces have marched with a mighty force to a place less than 10 kilometers away from the Luma fortress. Luma Fortress is the first gate in the west of Darkmoon Kingdom, and its length is also dozens of kilometers. But dozens of kilometers away, there are troops that can't be seen at a glance. These troops were clear-cut and lined up in a phalanx of 10,000 people. In these square formations, a large number of defensive enchantments have already risen, one by one. There are also many large defensive enchantments covering more warriors. The shimmering light emitted by these defensive enchantments also made the entire battlefield brighter. This war is going to start at night. Look at the change of the moon. It's so bright, the gods in the sky must be fighting. So, the fight will soon start on the ground. I haven't slept all night, just wait and see. As long as I solve the Earl of Moshi land, I can rest easy and develop. On the Protagonist forum, many protagonists did not sleep and were watching the live stream of the Protagonist. Woo! A low horn sounded throughout the battlefield. In the army of the Stew Empire, Saint Daisy finished her prayer, and with a movement of her hands, she cast an illumination technique. This illumination technique is like a signal. Immediately after, in the sky, one lighting technique after another was displayed. This huge battlefield was instantly illuminated extremely brightly. It's like daytime. For the glory of my God, strike. Saintess Daisy held a divine weapon and pointed in the direction of the Darkmoon Kingdom. Her voice, through amplification magic, resounded across the battlefield. For the glory of my God, below, many warriors put their long swords on their chests and shouted loudly. Then, it was pushed neatly towards the Luma Fortress. I'm here to clear the way for you, in the sky. The fighting god of the Stew Empire held a big sword, and the fighting spirit in his body boiled. Next second, he slashed out with a sharp sword. A long sword light crossed the battlefield and charged towards the Luma Fortress in a mighty manner. Make this battlefield brighter. The sword light was only halfway through, and a demigod appeared above the Luma Fortress. With a wave of the staff in his hand, a magic attack struck the sword light together. Boom! The two attacks collided, and the light emitted was extremely dazzling. This battlefield was once again illuminated extremely brightly. The fighting god of the Stew Empire snorted softly, and the great sword in his hand launched an attack again. At the same time, the demigods in other kingdoms also launched attacks in unison. The armies of many countries have not yet reached the Luma Fortress, and the demigod-level battle has already begun. Saint Daisy, we have more demigods, and there are even more gods behind our coalition. There is no need to drag this battle on. It is enough to take the Darkmoon Kingdom in one day. Seeing that the Daisy Saint is ready to use conventional methods to attack. On the huge flying boat, the gold-level protagonist Marin Seiko stood up and said loudly. Around, the saints and saints of other kingdoms all looked towards Marin. Seeing that he had successfully attracted everyone's attention, the corner of Marin's mouth lifted, revealing a confident smile. His eyes swept across the faces of the Holy Son and Holy Maiden of other kingdoms, and he shouted an invitation. Everyone, at sunset tomorrow, how about we go to the Dark Moon King to enjoy the sunset together? Hearing Marin's words, Saint Daisy frowned. She was the official saint. Even if Marin performed extremely well in the past 2 weeks, it would not be his turn to point fingers. Saint Daisy is about to speak. The Pope's voice rang out. Saint Son Marin is very brave, and he can conquer the Dark Moon Kingdom in one day. If he can really do it, when the glory of my God is raised, my God will surely be delighted. As soon as the Pope spoke, the son of another kingdom also spoke. Sacred Son Marin said very well. My God has handed down an oracle. This battle, there are at least 10 gods participating in the battle. Why do you have to be so inky with the Dark Moon Kingdom? If the Dark Moon Kingdom can win a kingdom in a few days, we can do it in a day. Take the Dark Moon Kingdom. The other saints and saints also spoke up. Impressively agreed to Marin's son's radical plan. Listen to my orders, please attack the angels. Seeing that the other saints and saints were persuaded by him, Saint Son Marin directly bypassed Saintess Daisy, took the command and issued an order. Saintess Daisy still wanted to speak, but the saints of other kingdoms had already started to pray. The Pope is also clearly partial to the Marin son. She is a dignified official saint, but she was so overwhelmed by Marin that she couldn't even speak. In this way, before the war was officially started, the gold-level protagonist Marin, who had been invisible, seized the opportunity and seized the rights that originally belonged to Saintess Daisy. Next, as long as the battle goes well, Saint Daisy will be completely suppressed by his light. He, Marin, will also smoothly become the official Holy Son and control the overall situation. With Marin's orders, the saints and saints of other kingdoms all acted. Immediately afterwards, in the sky, one after another angels descended. This area is the border between the two countries, and it is located in the Roth Kingdom to the west of the Darkmoon Kingdom. The gods who are ready to participate in the war have naturally already arrived in the Kingdom of God behind the Kingdom of Roth, so that they can come down to participate in the war. Horton, don't worry, the angels will come first. We add up to more than 100 demigod-level angels. Lord Stu is an angel who has reached the level of pseudo-gods. The 7 goddesses of the moon will not be able to hold their breath. In the Kingdom of God, there was a voice of a god. The number of gods gathered here has exceeded 10. Among them, the god behind the Horton Kingdom, who was defeated by the New Moon Kingdom, the star god Horton, was also among them. Not just Holden. The gods who have lost their kingdoms are also here. In addition to this, there are 6 other gods who have not lost their kingdom. These gods are all there impatiently waiting to take action. In the sky, dense angels descended one after another. Wow, so many angels. In the future, I will become a god, and I will make all of them into angels. So many angels are enough for Darkmoon Kingdom to drink a pot? On the Protagonist forum, the protagonists discussed while watching the live broadcast. Above the army of the Stu Empire, in a short period of time, more than 100 angels descended. When the angels on the side of the Stu Empire descended, on the side of the Darkmoon Kingdom, the angels continued to descend. Their number of angels is a bit large. On the flying boat, Queen Crescent looked at the angel on the opposite side. The demigod-level angels who descended from the 7 goddesses added up to about 80 in total. But the number of demigod-level angels on the opposite side was nearly 200. There are also some angels whose auras are obviously more powerful. These should be the angels belonging to the 3rd month Moonmaster. The stronger the strength of God, the stronger the angels under his command will be. Although the strength of the Dark Moon Goddess has improved rapidly, in terms of background, the gap with the 3rd Moon Lord is still not small. At this moment, a larger passage opened, and then, a powerful angel descended. As soon as this angel came, the face of Queen Crescent Moon changed slightly. This angel. I'm afraid it's a pseudo-god. The Queen of the New Moon said, false god-level angel. As the Moon Lord, it is indeed more powerful. They all have angels who have reached the level of pseudo-gods. However, the breath of this angel is still in the early stage of pseudo-god level. It is no match for the combat power after the arrival of God himself, but compared to other angels, it is a lot stronger. Attack. On the flying boat, seeing nearly 200 angels descending, Marin gave birth to a sense of pride that the world is in control of, and gave the order to attack. All the angels moved, and the angels of the law system attacked from a distance. The melee angel held a big sword and beat his wings to kill. That pseudo-god level angel even took the lead and killed him. There are too many angels, let the goddess descend. The Queen of the New Moon said, need not. As Su-Mo spoke, a holy light had already fallen on him. Next second, Su-Mo's body flew out as soon as his breath rose. It's the Earl of Moshi Land. With so many demigod-level angels, he can't handle it alone, can he? In the live broadcast room of the protagonist of the live stream, it was already lively. Hey, are you so restless? On the opposite side, Marin smiled when he saw Su-Mo rushing out. He felt that he looked a little high on the Earl of Moshi Land. Seeing Su-Mo rushing out from high in the sky, several angel teams greeted him. These are all angels under the command of Lord Stuyue. The cooperation of 10 demigod-level angels is enough to repel an invading ordinary demon. Not to mention, in an angel team, the pseudo-god-level angel is still in it. Stop him. Several angel teams attacked at the same time. The sword light from the great sword in the hands of the false god-level angels slashed towards Su-Mo. Facing the cooperation of many angels, Su-Mo's expression remained unchanged, and he clapped his palm. Boom! Many attacks were scattered by Su-Mo. Not only that, Su-Mo's shot smashed all the attacks and rushed to the false god-level angel. The pseudo-god-level angel shouted loudly, and the big sword in his hand slashed. PFF'd. The next second, Su-Mo's attack overwhelmed him. This powerful pseudo-god-level angel just entered the battlefield, and before he could play his role, he turned into a fog of blood. Master Dell was killed. In the rear, seeing that the pseudo-god level angel was directly killed by Sumo, the expressions of the other angels changed greatly. Sumo didn't give them any more chances at all. As soon as he killed the false god level angel, Sumo quickly launched a series of attacks. Block a 1/4, a demigod level angel brought out all his strength. But to no avail. Bang, was killed by Sumo. This is the second one. Immediately, the third and fourth angels were also killed one after another. At this time, Sumo is like a wolf entering a flock. These angels have a lot of fighting experience. With the cooperation of 10 angels in a team, even a demon like Long Nail can run away. But in the face of Sumo, there is no way to fight back. Even the 3 law angels resisting Sumo's attack together are completely useless. Sumo's attack drowned them all at once, killing the 3 law angels. After these angels were killed, even if they could be resurrected, it would take a lot of time and strength to regain their current strength. The resurrection angel itself is also quite energy intensive. So fast, IFCK, the Earl of Moshi Land is a bit too strong. It's only been a while, more than 10 angels have been killed. I have a hunch that if God doesn't come again, the Earl of Moshi Land can kill all these angels alone. At this time, in the live broadcast room of the protagonist of the live stream, the protagonists in it are stunned. They were all shocked by the power of Sumo. They still don't know that the strength of the first angel to be killed in seconds has already reached the pseudogod level. Otherwise, it will definitely be more shocking. The other side. On the huge flying boat, the complexion of the gold-level protagonist Marin also changed slightly. The development of the situation was completely different from what he expected. The angel hung up too fast. The strongest angel was unable to block Sumo's blow. He should have gained the power of the Dark Moon Goddess. Marlin guesses. Most of the protagonists don't know the cause of the battle, but Marin knows a little bit about it. As the holy son of Lord Tsuyuki, he knows more about the gods of this world than ordinary protagonists. I also know that the Dark Moon Goddess is stronger than the other goddesses in the 7 moon goddesses. Holy son of the new moon is too strong. Start the summoning ceremony. Aside, the Pope suggested, it is good. Marin didn't do it. In his plan, now is not the time for him to take action. In the rear, the summoning ceremony of the Stu Empire and other kingdoms has already begun. And at this time, Sumo was still killing a lot in the sky. Deal with him together, dozens of angels attacked Sumo at the same time. The overwhelming attack came toward Sumo. Sumo's face remained the same, one hand held up to mobilize strength and shield, and the other hand kept attacking. His attack was too terrifying. No angel can stop him. Not only can it be blocked, it is also very difficult to avoid. For every attack, an angel must be killed, sometimes, even 2, 3 in a row. Although the Stu Empire's summoning ceremony was launched very timely, the loss of the angels was also increasing. In a short period of time, more than 20 angels have been solved by Sumo. This number is still growing, too soon. Yeah, according to the angel's method, it won't take long for him to kill him alone. It's all Saint Sun. Why is he so strong? If you think about his Goldfinger rating, it's probably the only legendary Goldfinger at the moment. But his Goldfinger was killed all the way, not from the beginning. By the way, haven't you noticed that some of the protagonists in the New Moon Kingdom told the villains about the abnormality of the Earl of the Blackstone Land? What's wrong? Let's hear it. They said that before the game started, the Earl of Blackstone had already invented a lot of other worlds, and they all wondered if the Earl of Blackstone had passed through in advance. In the live broadcast room of the protagonists of the live stream, the protagonists watched Sumo's massacre, and they were all amazed there. Really, the angel hung up too fast. Each of these angels is clearly an extremely powerful demigod. But here in Sumo, it is no different from sheep. There are also some protagonists there to discuss some old topics from the past. These topics have also caused discussions among some protagonists, especially the protagonists and villains in the New Moon Kingdom. However, as the main protagonists and villains in the New Moon Kingdom were cleared by Sumo, the remaining protagonists fled to other kingdoms one by one and hid and developed. Fewer people are discussing this topic. Damn it, angels die too much. Let's come together, destroy this fortress first, kill the son of New Moon, and the 7 goddesses of the moon will no longer have the power to return to the sky. At this time, in the heavenly realm, when they sensed that the angel was quickly killed, The gods in the kingdom of God were also furious one by one. The angels who were killed were not only those of Lord Stu, but they also had a large number of angels killed. Sumo kills not ordinary fast. The passage is open, let's go. After the summoning ceremony, a god opened the channel impatiently and descended. We shoot directly at the new moon holy sun. Star god Horton and Bahenia and several other gods whose kingdoms were taken away looked at each other and made up their minds. They are going to shoot Sumo together. Even the god of the Hunhi kingdom who could not hide before also ran out. Therefore, on the battlefield, the gods who were originally going to wait for the 7 goddesses of the moon to move first, because of Sumo's strength, they couldn't bear it any longer, have come. On the other side, 6 goddesses also descended one after another. In a short time, on this battlefield, many gods will all descend. Seeing these gods descend on the battlefield, one by one in the live broadcast room of the protagonist of the live stream also watched with relish. 6-13, one of the 7 goddesses of the moon must kneel. How to fight this FCK? There are so many gods on the opposite side, and the Earl of Moshi Land is powerless to return to the sky. Haha, the Earl of Mo Shilling is finally finished. In the live broadcast room, the protagonists have heated discussions. Seeing that the Stu Empire has descended on so many gods at once, many protagonists think that the 7 goddesses of the moon will definitely be doomed. Why so many? It's just right, this time, it's hard for you to fly. In the huge flying ship of the Stu Empire, Marin did not expect that so many gods would descend on him at once. The son of the new moon is too domineering, he has taken too many kingdoms, and offended too many gods. A mortal man is so arrogant, this time, he will take the blame for himself. Beside, Pope Stu commented, well, as long as you kill the son of the new moon and drive away the 6 goddesses, the Dark Moon Kingdom will be captured. Before sunset tomorrow, we should be able to conquer the Dark Moon capital. Marin said lightly. The Pope nodded. This battle, he did not think there was a second result. No matter how strong Sumo is, can he be stronger than so many gods? Mo, Horton and the others really came. There are too many of them in this battle. We try our best to hold it back. It's really impossible. Let's give up this fortress first and use the fortress behind to delay the time. After the goddess of the new moon arrives, quickly transmit the voice to Sumo. The 6 goddesses have all descended, and on the opposite side, there are a total of 13 gods. Although everyone's strength has been suppressed to the pseudo-god level, the number is here. The number of these 13 gods is enough to decide everything. Even the goddess of the new moon did not expect that there would be so many. 13 gods, the 3 Hortons at the beginning, and 4 more have been taken over the kingdom in the past 10 days. The remaining 6 are the 6 kingdoms organized behind the Stu Empire. In terms of combat power at the level of the gods, this battlefield, the Dark Moon Kingdom, has completely fallen below. 6-13. Go back first. At this time, on the battlefield, seeing the arrival of 13 gods, the angels who were beaten so badly retreated one after another. During the time when the 13 gods came, more than 40 of these angels were killed by Sumo. Killed so fast. These angels are not like the demigods of the world of gods. If the demigods in the world of gods find that they can't beat them, they will basically run away. As the subordinates of God, these angels will not run away one by one. Otherwise, where is the majesty of God placed? If these 13 gods came a little later, Sumo could solve all the angels by himself. Seeing the angels retreat, Sumo did not pursue. The high-altitude battle also stopped for a while. On the side of the Stu Empire, the 10 gods exuded a powerful aura. Each of them's divine body is not as huge as the Abyss Demon God. But even if you look at it from a distance, you can feel their horror. There is a sense that they are the whole world. In the live broadcast room of the protagonists of the live stream, the protagonists can feel the endless majesty from the 13 gods when they look across the screen. I must become a god. Take me, I don't know why, but you didn't find it. Although these gods are overwhelming, they have become the absolute protagonists on this battlefield as soon as they come, but compared with them, the Earl of Moshi Land can actually not fall behind. I also have this feeling, as if the Earl of the Blackstone territory is at the same level as them. This should be the reason why the Earl of the Blackstone Land obtained the power of God. In the live broadcast room, the protagonists were in high spirits to discuss. By Sumo's side, 6 of the 7 goddesses of the moon have arrived. Confront the 13 gods on the opposite side. We each contain 2, and the remaining one is handed over to Mo. Goddess Shui looked towards the opposite side and said, "One holds 2, it was also quite exhausting for her. The consumption will also be enormous. However, as long as it lasts for an hour, the gods who are to come can't hold it anymore, it's fine." The other 5 goddesses all nodded and approved Goddess Shui's plan. Only Su Mo shook his head and said, "Goddess, a few of them are coming for me and won't give you a chance to contain them. Leave these to me." His eyes looked at the gods such as Star God Horton. It is not the first time that these gods have fought against Su Mo. Compared with the 7 goddesses of the moon, the most ruthless of these guys should be Su Mo. If it wasn't for Su Mo, how could the new moon goddess and the others take their kingdom so easily? At this time, the 7 guys who were quickly taken away by Su Mo all have their eyes on Su Mo. "You each contain 1, and the 7 of us will deal with the new moon holy sun. Oh, if we can let the 7 gods take action, he will die properly." Su Mo guessed right. On the opposite side, the 7 gods whose kingdoms were taken away by him are not ready to die for the sake of gods. Impressively ready to play 7 to 1, not 7 angels, but 1 god. Nor is it that 7 demigods beat 1 god, but 7 gods, to deal with a mere sun at the same time. This kind of situation, in the world of gods, is the first time it has appeared. These 7 gods are not that kind of new gods, nor are they even lower gods. But in the heavenly world, they can be called the backbone, the median peak with a good position. As a result, they were preparing to attack a holy sun in unison. This scene is unprecedented. That's it, solve the battle as soon as possible, and tomorrow I can get my own kingdom back. After finishing speaking, the god of Kosi Kingdom launched an attack brazenly. They have already done the division of labor. 6 gods attacked 6 goddesses at the same time. There are also 7 gods, who chose to attack Su Mo together. Be careful. Seeing that Su Mo was right, the face of the goddess of the new moon changed, and she wanted to help Su Mo to block the attack. But the gods on the opposite side have already made all their efforts. No problem. After Su Mo finished speaking, the power in his body swelled up. It flew out fiercely, sending out powerful attacks one after another. Boom, in the sky, for a while, it was completely covered by the attacks of the gods. The attacks of divine power collided with each other, turning the place into an extremely dangerous battlefield. Even a demigod would not dare to approach, so as not to be torn apart by the violent power. All go, 7 hits 1. The Earl of Moishi Land has provoked public anger. It's dead now, it's estimated to be slag in seconds. You said, if the Earl of Moishi Land is killed by these 7 gods, will his gold finger fall out? Probably not, then it's actually the best thing for him to be killed by a god, lest someone get his gold finger, and he will be the best in the world. In the live broadcast room, the discussion was still extremely fierce. Why did the 7 gods deal with him? Don't kill him. At the rear, the gold-level protagonist Marin couldn't help but be a little worried. He didn't expect that the god of the heavens actually hated Su Mo so much. All at once, 7 gods came to deal with Su Mo. If Su Mo was killed, his loss would be huge. However, the gods ahead are fighting, and even if he is the holy son of Lord Stu, it is not easy to intervene when others are fighting. Find the right time and give him the final blow. Marin is ready to pray. He is ready to use his precious 1-minute pseudo-god peak strength to deliver the final blow to solve Su Mo at a critical moment. This way, he can get Su Mo's head. Boom boom. In the sky, 7 powerful gods attacked, drowning Su Mo. In addition to fighting gods, there are very few gods in the heavens who are good at melee combat. There are not many fighting gods. These 7 gods are not of the close combat type. When they attacked from a distance, it was enough to deal with some silly big men. Boom. Seeing that Su Mo was overwhelmed by the attack, at this time, Su Mo hit him hard. The whole sky shook. You can see that Su Mo is extremely powerful. One blow will smash all the attacks. Boom. Then, Su Mo started his own counterattack. Be careful. The star god Horton's expression changed, and he launched several attacks in succession before he shot down Su Mo's counterattack. If it weren't for the other 6 gods attacking at the same time, Su Mo would fight back again, and he felt that he might not be able to defend himself. This sun must be removed. Horton, the star god, was murdered. When he played against Su Mo before, Su Mo was not so difficult. How long has it been since then? Sumo's difficulty index has skyrocketed. Even when he came down, he couldn't beat him. Although the strength was suppressed after the arrival, it is enough to show the power of Sumo. If this is not killed, what will happen in the future? What is His Majesty as a god? Boom, soon, a god next to Horton was also almost injured by Sumo. Damn it, everyone, don't begrudge your strength, you must kill him. The god roared. Seeing this, several other gods also increased their attacks. But soon, the 7 gods discovered that Sumo was able to defend and attack at the same time. Their attacks were either smashed by Sumo, either get defended by Sumo. And Sumo's occasional counterattack, they all have to use all their strength to be able to block. These 7 gods were also angry one by one, and they continued to increase their attacks. But on the opposite side, not only did Sumo not get squeezed by his hips, but he felt like he became more and more brave in battle. Why is he so strong? Even on the battlefield, the other 6 goddesses who were very worried about Sumo were stunned. They were going to give their full support to Sumo. Unexpectedly, Sumo won't lose in the slightest with 1 against 7. It can be said to be a smashing tiger. Not only did the 7 gods not help Sumo, but Sumo's counterattacks from time to time made them embarrassed. If it weren't for their large numbers, I'm afraid there are already gods who are going to win the prize. This level of power is also jaw-dropping. Did he use the divine power given by Dark Moon? The new moon goddess guesses. The goddess of the Dark Moon gave Sumo divine power, and combined with the Dark Moon fruit, Sumo can achieve the peak of the pseudo-god level strength within 5 minutes. But even with this strength, it is very difficult to achieve such results. On the opposite side, there are 7 powerful gods. After using the divine power of the Dark Moon goddess, it should be possible to hold it, but it is difficult to issue a counterattack of this level. Soon, the new moon goddess knew that Sumo should not use the divine power of the Dark Moon goddess. Because after playing for 7 or 8 minutes, Sumo's performance is still very vigorous. Facing the 7 gods, Sumo still played extremely strong. Airtight. When fighting back, it was extremely fierce. Beating the 7 guys so loudly, all of them were tickling their teeth, but there was no way to get Sumo. I'll go. This is too sturdy. Is this FCK really a person? I now seriously suspect that the Earl of the Blackstone territory is a god in disguise. With 1 enemy and 7, you actually fought so fiercely. It's really fierce. If the Earl of the Blackstone territory doesn't die this time, the protagonists and villains around won't even be able to sleep. Don't talk about the protagonists and villains around. I can't sleep well if I'm tens of thousands of miles away. I don't know how long he can last. On the Protagonist forum, the protagonists watching the live broadcast were also stunned. They had no idea that Sumo would be so fierce. With 1 enemy and 7, he still performed so sturdy. Opposite. The gold-level protagonist Marin put down his worries. At least, Sumo's head will not be robbed by these 7 gods. But there was no relaxed expression on his face. It's so strong, it's bound to not last too long. When you're exhausted, that's when I shoot. Marlon's eyes flickered. The battle is still going on. This war, in the history of the entire gods world, is probably unprecedented. 7 gods at the peak of the median besiege a holy sun, and actually, haven't fought yet. Boom boom, in the sky, the battle is still going on. Below, the battle of the angels is also going on. Further down, the army of the Stu Empire had launched an attack on the Luma fortress. Various magics illuminated this battlefield incomparably gorgeous. The battle has been extremely fierce. The battle below doesn't get much attention. In the live broadcast room of the protagonist of the live stream, everyone was watching the high-altitude battle. There, the 7 gods are still attacking Sumo continuously. A siege was launched. However, it has been 20 minutes since the call. Sumo is still a fierce one. The 7 gods were beaten and roared again and again. Each one has some crashes. Had to crash. 7 fights 1. They have been fighting for 20 minutes, and actually, there is no help for the other party. If this were to return to the heaven, where would their faces be placed? Will it become the laughing stock of heaven in the future? When I think about walking in the heaven in the future, the angels or holy spirits of other gods are pointing behind my back. Said that they were in the continent of the gods, and they fought 1 out of 7, but they were not able to fight. The 7 gods couldn't help but be even more excited. One by one, they no longer cared about consumption, and kept attacking Sumo. The battle in the sky has also become more intense. But no matter how they attacked, Sumo's performance was as strong as ever. Even, he rarely defends, but chooses to be tough. Attack on attack. Smash the attacks from the 7 gods. He has more and more time to fight back. Seeing that these 7 gods are getting more and more angry, they are also getting more and more disadvantaged. Even the rhythm of the battle was taken over by Sumo. Each of these 7 gods is also pale. These guys, if you fight like this, you will lose. The other 6 gods couldn't help but feel anxious. They never played against Sumo. I only know that I quickly won the 7 kingdoms of gods before Sumo. I didn't have a deep understanding of Sumo's difficulties before. Now, they see it. A holy son of a human being can be so difficult to deal with. If it goes on like this, when the hour is up, they have to go back to the heaven. Although the 7 goddesses of the moon will also go back. But Sumo is still there. At that time, once Sumo has spare power, no one will be able to control it on this battlefield. However, it is useless for these 6 gods to be anxious. Their opponents, the 6 goddesses, would not give them a chance to support them. Originally, they were going to do their best to contain the 6 goddesses. But now, the roles have been changed, replaced by 6 goddesses to contain them with all their strength. They have no chance to support the 7 gods at all. Increasing the attack, even if he can't kill him, he can't last for too long with such an attack. Star God Horton said in a deep voice. The other 6 gods did not say a word, and continued to use more power to attack. Fighting in the continent of the gods is actually a waste of divine power. With the same divine power, in the heavenly realm, they can issue attacks that are thousands of times more powerful. In the world of gods, they were suppressed not so much. Therefore, after they arrive, they usually choose to use the diluted divine power to attack, and the power will be suppressed anyway. But now, seeing that Sumo is getting stronger and stronger, they have also started to adjust the dilution ratio constantly, which can increase the power of some attacks. Correspondingly, the consumption will also increase significantly. But until now, they have been unable to care about consumption. If this is not fought, not only is this war very likely to be lost, their face as gods will also be completely lost. They have no chance to take back their country. I am afraid that even the 3rd month Moonmaster will feel that they are useless. It's really useless. 7-on-1, it's actually like this. Therefore, seeing that the oppression they were being subjected to was constantly intensifying, each of these 7 gods also exerted their strength to suckle. In the sky, the battle became more and more intense. How do I feel that they are desperate? You're not wrong, they're just trying hard. F***ck. This Earl of the Blackstone territory is unreasonably strong. He is so brave in a fight against 7. He is borrowing the power of a god, but there are 7 gods on the opposite side. Is it possible that the god who borrowed his power is more powerful? In the live broadcast room, the discussion became more and more heated. The protagonists in it were shocked to see one by one. This live broadcast has been watched by many protagonists so far. I'm afraid, all the powerful protagonists on the protagonist leaderboard are also watching. However, these protagonists did not speak. There are too many people speaking, they may have spoken, and no one will see it. There are also some protagonists watching and discussing in some protagonist groups. Seeing that Sumo is so strong, some of the protagonists in the surrounding kingdoms are ready to run away. Once Dark Moon Kingdom wins this battle, they have to run if they don't run. Half an hour, the legendary Goldfinger, it's really different. The gold level protagonist Marin is also watching the live broadcast room. The Goldfinger, the protagonist of the live stream, is very good for live streaming. Shooting from a distance, on the contrary, provides a clearer perspective. Hey, these guys are really ignorant. There is a limit to any holy son's power to carry a god. Give me some time, and I can carry the power for more than an hour. After seeing the discussion of the other protagonists in the live broadcast room, Marin hummed lightly. In his opinion, Sumo cannot carry the power of God without limit. He himself can carry the power of God for 10 minutes now, 3 times that of Saintess Daisy. In his opinion, what Sumo relies on should be the legendary Goldfinger. With the legendary Goldfinger, it can carry the power for a longer time. But this time, after all, is limited. There is a limit to even the coming of God. Sumo is a holy son. If there is no limit to the time to carry the power, is there any law of heaven? In Marin's view, even if the legendary Goldfinger can make Sumo's restrictions smaller, it can't be endless. 1 hour. His limit should exceed this point. After all the gods return to the heaven, he will definitely return some of his power, and I will take another shot at that time. Marlin's eyes flickered. He was estimating the limits of Sumo. In his opinion, Sumo's time is too long and unlikely. More than an hour at most. His estimate was much longer than some of the protagonists in the live broadcast room. At the same time, he also saw the time of his own shot. When the time comes, you can stimulate her to try it out first. Marin took another look at Saint Daisy and thought. Saint Daisy can also carry pseudo-god level power for 5 minutes. In his opinion, it can be used for temptation. With a plan, Marin's heart settled. Looking at the large number of startled protagonists in the live broadcast room, he was a little scornful. At the same time, in his mind, the scene of many protagonists in the live broadcast room exclaimed after he shot and killed such a powerful Earl of the Blackstone land for a while. That is wonderful. So much so that he couldn't help but be intoxicated. The Earl of Moishi land, who couldn't even handle the 7 gods, was killed by him. No matter how he killed it, it would be the happiest moment of his life. Time goes on. Soon, 50 minutes. Damn it. The mentality of the 7 gods is about to collapse. 50 minutes. How did they spend those 50 minutes? What's so special? They attacked Sumo for 50 minutes, and they continued to jam, but they became more and more passive. On the other hand, Sumo, the more you fight, the more brave you are. 50 minutes passed, and the oppression they were subjected to became stronger and stronger. The current consumption is also incomparably large. One by one was so depressed that it was about to explode. As gods for a long time, they maintain the majesty of gods, and there are not many words they use to express negative emotions. Otherwise, the vocabulary they spit out should be more exciting. Time moved forward steadily for an hour. It's been almost an hour. The 7 gods can't hold on anymore. Hey, the Earl of Mo Shilling has persisted for so long. It's invincible. The Earl of the Moshi land is unstoppable. I'd better run away. Even if there are many kingdoms in the Earl of the Blackstone land, I'm still terrified. So strong. How can other protagonists mix with the villain? Very good. The success has given me a clearer understanding of my own garbage. In the live broadcast room of the protagonist of the live stream, there was an unprecedented liveliness. Sumo's power makes the protagonists exclaim. Although they all knew that Sumo borrowed the power of the gods, they were able to fight the 7 powerful gods for so long with the power of the gods. This also makes many protagonists feel that the future is bleak. Damn it. Let's go back to heaven first. At this time, on the battlefield, the 7 gods could not collapse. The mood is about to collapse. What 7 gods, beat a human holy son, to be beaten like a bird? This face is lost. The god of the Hunhi kingdom even regretting that he had hid clearly. Why did he run out again? After this guy ran out, he was not only chased by Horton and the gods of the Bahinia kingdom for the god stone, but now he is also embarrassed together. The repression has grown stronger. Now, if they continue to stay in the world of gods and maintain their pseudo-god level combat power, even if they do nothing, they will consume more than 10 drops of divine power in 1 minute. Over an hour, that's 1 drop per second. As time goes on, the consumption will increase. Go. The 7 gods couldn't stand it any longer, and they all returned to the heaven. Go. The other 6 gods couldn't stand it either. Mo, I'll leave it to you. The new moon goddess and the others couldn't hold on anymore, and they all returned to the heaven. For a time, all the gods on this battlefield returned to the heaven. Seeing the gods return to the heavenly realm, Sumo's eyes turned to the angels who had been slain miserably. In this hour, these more than 100 angels beat the angels of the 7 goddesses of the moon very hard. But as the gods left, the more than 100 angels trembled. Then, Sumo attacked again. Harvest begins. Soon, another 10 minutes passed. Those angels were killed dozens of times again. His power wanes. Marin clearly felt that Sumo's power was not as good as before. It's now, Saint, let's go together. The time has come for him to strike. Under his courage, Saint Daisy has already prayed.